I'm Hannah and I'm here at Sun Valley Regional Park for this month's Junior Naturalist program. Thanks for coming along as we explore desert landscapes and the awesome animals and plants that are able to survive in them. So let's go get our boots dirty and explore. Hi Rachel, I'm glad I found you. We are here to learn about deserts today, and so I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about what makes a desert a desert.
Yeah, so the main thing that makes a desert is the overall lack of water. So if you look around here, there's pretty much no surface water, there's very little rainfall, and what rain does fall usually evaporates before it even hits the ground.
Oh wow, yeah, it is really dry and hot here. I can feel just in the air and in the sun.
Yeah, and part of that is the lack of humidity. So we're in a rain shadow desert specifically. What that means is that the tall mountain ranges around northern Nevada blocks the rain from being able to come here. So it keeps the air less humid and means we have less rainfall.
Awesome. So I've heard that the desert that we live in has a special name. What's the name of the desert where we live?
So the desert we live in specifically in northern Nevada is called the Great Basin. And the Great Basin Desert actually encompasses parts of northern Nevada, parts of Utah, and further into the western US. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. So one cool thing about the Great Basin Desert is that it's actually expanding. And it's not expanding because the desert conditions are expanding. It's actually expanding because the geologic processes that cause the desert are expanding. So there's different types of faulting, some that rub together like this, which is the San Andreas Fault. And there's other types that can go up and down, which is what we have here in Nevada. So one type that we have is actually going down one way and up another, which leaves this big gap between my hands that you can see. That's actually new land. So what happens is the crust gets a little bit thinner, the mountain peaks get a little bit taller, and that expands the valleys between each peak. So it causes the Great Basin Desert to actually expand and become a larger area.
So we learned about how in our Great Basin Desert there isn't a lot of water and it can get really hot, which means that the plants and animals that live here have to be specially adapted in order to survive. So that word adaptation means something special about that plant or animal that helps them survive in their environment. So that could either be something about their bodies or a behavior, so something that they do. So the animals that live here at Sun Valley Regional Park have to have some unique adaptations to be able to survive the hot temperatures and the lack of water. So there's a few different things that animals do here in the desert to help them survive. One way that animals deal with the lack of water and the temperature is by being nocturnal. So a nocturnal animal is one that sleeps during the day and is active at night. And that could really help a desert animal because the day is the hottest part. So the sun beating down on me right now, I can feel how hot it is. But a nocturnal animal is asleep during the hottest part of the day and wakes up at night when it's cooled off in order to find food, defend their territory, and do their other activities when it's not quite as hot. So some of these nocturnal animals will also use things like burrows. So they'll dig burrows under the ground where it's a lot cooler and it's shaded, and they'll sleep there during the day. And so that's another way that desert animals can survive the heat, is by using burrows. Some other desert animals are adapted so they don't need as much water. So they're able to get the water that they need either from the things that they eat, or they're able to store water in their bodies so that they don't have to drink as much, which is another way that they're able to survive when there's not a lot of rain or other water sources.
A lot of desert animals have adapted to survive extreme temperatures and lack of water. Animals that live in the desert have also adapted to needing little water. Many get all the water they need from the food they eat. Other animals store up the water that they can use for later. Common animals in the northern Nevada deserts are the black-tailed jackrabbit. This jackrabbit is actually not a rabbit at all. It's a hare known as the American desert hare. While they may look odd, their large ears are extraordinarily useful, helping hares to detect threats from far away and dissipating heat when temperatures rise. Another common animal is the desert tortoise. They escape the heat and remain hydrated by burrowing. They spend up to 98% of their lives underground. They can survive for as long as a year without access to water. They can survive body temperatures from below freezing to 104 degrees. The kangaroo rat is almost perfectly adapted to life in the desert. They can survive without ever drinking any water. getting most of the moisture and nutrients they need from their seed diet. Kangaroo rats have adaptations that allow them to detect and escape predators easily. They have massive hind legs that allow the kangaroo rat to jump 9 feet at a time. Kangaroo rats are nocturnal animals. They possess a big pair of eyes, which helps them to see clearly in the dark.
So the plants here in the desert also have to have special adaptations in order to survive as well. So here in the Great Basin, we have multiple different kinds of brushes and trees and grasses, but they all have unique adaptations to deal with the lack of water and the heat. And so one of those plants is the juniper, like you see here. So a juniper has really scaled leaves. Its leaves are modified into needles, and so that helps them not lose as much water during the daylight. So when the sun is hitting their needles, they're not losing a bunch of water through evaporation. They also kind of have a waxy coating, which traps the water inside and keeps it from escaping out of the leaves as well.
That we see here at Sun Valley Regional are granite. So that's this big grayish rock. And this is actually igneous, which means fire-born, so coming from like ignite, fire. So it actually comes from deep inside volcanoes. And a really cool thing you can see here at Sun Valley Regional, some of these rocks will have this green in it. This is called serpentine. This isn't a very common rock. We see it here in northern Nevada and in belts in California, and they're found during when mountains are pushed up. This actually used to be part of the ocean floor. So this was originally part of the ocean floor, and then the mountains pushed it up so high that now we can find parts of it here, thousands of feet above sea level. So that reminds me, this month's secret word is rain shadow. So use that, make sure you enter it, and you can be submitted for cool prizes later on.
Activity this month, we will take a look at plant and animal adaptations that help organisms hold on to water. So let's take a look at plant adaptations first. For this first part of the activity, you will need 3 paper towels to represent leaves, 1 square piece of wax paper, and a bowl or a bucket of water. Our first plant adaptation will show how plants with broad or flat leaves are suited to hold on to water. So, take your first paper towel with 2 hands and dip it into the water. Then, lay it flat either outside or on your counter at home. For our second leaf, we will roll up our paper towel to represent a needle-shaped leaf like the juniper tree we saw earlier in the video. After you roll up your leaf, dip it into the water and lay it down near your flat, broad leaf. Now, for our last leaf, we will recreate a waxy coated leaf. First, lay a square piece of wax paper down flat. Then, we dip our last piece of paper towel into our water and lay it flat on the wax paper. Then, roll up your wax paper like a burrito and lay it to the side next to your other leaves. Now, we have a waxy coated leaf, a needle-shaped leaf, and a broad-shaped leaf. Wait a few hours, come back, and visit your leaves. Which adaptation allowed the plant to hold on to the most water? And which plant do you think would survive in a dry desert like here in Nevada? For our second part of the activity, we will take a look at animal adaptations. For this part, you'll need 4 sponges, a plastic bag, a bucket of water, and an empty bowl. First, soak all of your sponges in the water. Once your sponge animals are full of water, you can call the first wet sponge your control animal with no adaptations. Place this first animal directly in the sun or out in the open somewhere. Another sponge will act as the shaded sponge, and we can simulate this animal adaptation by placing our wet sponge in a shady area. Next, take another wet sponge and simulate a burrowing animal by placing it in a shallow burrow or just by putting a bowl on top of it. And this sponge will be our animal with waterproof skin. Place our last sponge in a plastic bag and then securely fasten it. Next, leave the sponge in an area receiving direct sunlight. Just like with our paper towel leaves, come back in a few hours to check on your animals with their different adaptations. So, which animal sponge held onto the most water? Which adaptation do you think helps animals survive well in dry areas? Well, this experiment will show you both how plants and animals survive in the desert. I hope you enjoy!
Hi there, junior naturalists. We have a couple of really fun crafts for you to do this week. We're making some crafts to replicate animal adaptations. Our first craft is a pair of jackrabbit ears. You're first going to start off by cutting off about 2 pieces of construction paper to fit around your head. You can tape them together or staple them, and then you're going to cut out some long oval shapes for ears, and then tape those to the back of the headband that you just made, and then cut out maybe some pink construction paper for the inside of the rabbit ears, and then maybe draw around them, but you can make them however you like. Next step is to maybe reinforce the ears with pencils, and then you tape them onto the back of the ear, and they should stand straight up. And then you have your very own pair of jackrabbits. The next craft is making your own desert tortoiseshell. This just requires a paper plate, and you can cut out little feet for the turtle from construction paper, and then you can color your shell however you like, and then you can feel free to poke holes in it for a string so you can wrap it around your head like a little tortoiseshell would. And then the final activity is making your own kangaroo rat mask. All it requires is a couple of pieces of construction paper to fit around your head, and then you're going to poke holes in the front of the headband so you can see out of it, so you can put it over your eyes, and then you're going to tape it together and make sure it fits around your face, and then you're going to draw a little snout with whiskers and a pink nose if you like, and then maybe a couple of cut out little circles for ears, and then you're going to tape those on the back of the headband, and then make some pretty big black circles for the eyes, and then you should be able to wrap it around your head and have your own little kangaroo mask. I hope you guys enjoyed the crafts.
If you come out to explore Sun Valley Regional Park on your own, make sure to look for our hidden JNATS rock. Because it's such a big park, over 345 acres, I'm gonna give you a little clue. If you come and park in the parking lot at the very top next to the picnic area, you'll climb some wooden stairs up to a very close rock formation. As you explore, make sure you take a peek into some shaded areas, because just like our desert animals, our JNATS rock is trying to stay out of the sun.
We hope you had a great time learning about deserts and enjoy this month's activities.
Remember, if you come to explore Sun Valley Regional Park on your own, that because we don't have the ears of a jackrabbit or the ability to store water like a kangaroo rat, there will be some things that you need to bring along. Don't forget to bring a water bottle, a hat, and sunscreen so that you stay safe while you're exploring our amazing desert landscape. Thank you so much for joining us for another Junior Naturalist, and we'll see you at the next one.